Hey guys, welcome back to wemetatacme. I'm so excited to be here with dating coach, with author, with the host of Jillian on Love, Jillian Turecki. Hi.
Hi, so happy to be here.
So happy to have you here. There's so much that I wanted to talk to you about. I first learned about you because of your incredible episode that I listened to called 5 Truths About Relationships That Will Transform Your Love Life.
Mm.
And now your book is either out or about to come out. And it's called It Begins With You, The 9 Hard Truths About Love That Will Change Your Life. Before we get into all of that, Jillian, what is your favorite romantic gesture
Ooh.
for someone to do to you or for
Oh.
you?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think. I mean, I have a few, but the one that's top of mind, it's sort of the little things. It's like, "Oh, I bought you your favorite snack."
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, giving me, like, my hot water with lemon, like, first thing in the morning. It's those little things, like, anticipating my needs. To me, that's I love flowers and I love romance and all that, but to me, those things are more romantic and
I
mean
like
more.
that.
Yeah.
What is your favorite snack?
That's a good question. It changes all the time. But I would say, like, one of the keys to my heart is dark chocolate.
Mm-hmm. I also love dark chocolate. I
Love
used
it.
to be a milk gal, but
You had to go to the other side,
you
right?
have to go,
Yeah.
and then once you
Yeah.
go, you can't go
You
back.
can't go back.
I
Yeah.
can't even, like, eat milk chocolate anymore.
No, it tastes, like, so sweet and, like, weird.
It's too sweet and weird. It tastes fake.
It tastes totally fake
Yeah.
and kinda gross.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm actually really currently obsessed with C's Candies chocolates.
Oh, like, from San Francisco?
Correct.
That's so funny because I was just in LA, and then even they had it at the airport.
They always have it at the
They
airport.
always had it at the airport, and
Mhm.
I was kinda eyeing it, being like, "I kinda wanna get" I didn't, but I almost did.
Well, it's a slippery slope, so you have to be careful because
I
once
know.
you buy it,
It's like you can't
it's
and it
gone.
has, like, the toffee, like, in the inside. I
Mhm.
do love toffee. Like, back in the day, like, my favorite candy bar was, um it was like a Heath bar, like, basically a Heath bar, or like that ice cream, Ben& Jerry's
Mhm.
Heath Bar Crunch.
Mhm.
Delish.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That is so good. And Jillian, what is your relationship status?
I'm single at the moment.
Okay. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you're not living in New York right now, but you are a New Yorker.
I am a born and raised Manhattan girl, indeed.
Do you feel like you date like a New Yorker? Is that a thing?
What is dating like a New Yorker?
You know, I think I'm going to empower New Yorkers for a second. I
Okay.
think dating like a New Yorker is knowing what you want, knowing your worth, and going after it. But I think that some would argue, if they've been maybe burned by a New Yorker, that dating like a New Yorker is having so many options that you can't value the one that's in front of you.
Oh. I think, I don't think there's so many options for New York women who date men because there's just so many more women than there are men here.
Yeah.
And the women in New York City are incredibly beautiful and talented, and smart. So I think that heterosexual men really, really, it's like a playground,
Yeah.
you know? So I mean, I'm not really a big dater. I'm
Mhm.
weird. The person just kind of like comes into my life. Um, so it's hard for me to say, but I definitely am not the person who doesn't like there's so many options, and so I don't value what's in front of me. I don't do
Right, right,
that.
right. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your book for a sec. What made you want to write this?
Hmm. Well, I was someone who went through a very painful marriage. It was a short marriage and it ended terribly. And when it did, I was so it was a terrible time. My mom, he left and he left in an abrupt way. I had a miscarriage. My mom was dying of lung cancer. And so I felt shocked that I was in this position. Like I did not ever think, nowhere in my blueprint when it came to a relationship was, oh, I would be like getting divorced at 40 and be alone and childless. Like I had that whole narrative and that whole story. And so I became obsessed with what makes a relationship work, why was it not working for me? Because I have had some lovely relationships, and I've had ones that weren't. So one could not look at my relationship history and just say, oh, all bad. It's very peppered with lovely things and then also not so lovely things. And I found that intriguing in a way. I didn't really understand what that was all about, and I didn't understand why, as someone who was, intelligent and kind and a yogi, why was this happening to me? So I went on a deep quest to really understand what makes a relationship work. And even though at that time I had been teaching yoga for almost 15 years and worked a lot with couples as well, I wanted to go into a deeper dive. And so, what I discovered about myself and what I discovered through working with thousands of people, literally thousands, I thought, if I don't put this into a book, that would be a real disservice to myself and to the world and to the people who need this. So that's sort of the shorter version of it all.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
And I think everyone who reads this book is going to be so grateful that it exists.
Thank you.
Which one of the 9 hard truths about love that will change your life was the hardest for you to accept?
Hmm. So I think that when I was writing it, I had already done so much healing. And so all of them I felt very, I accepted all of them. Um, so there's two. I think one that I think that we all can maybe understand intellectually, but the one that I think that every single person, at least every single person I've ever met, needs to remind themselves often is that no one is coming to save you, meaning we truly are responsible for our own happiness. And that doesn't mean, your partner should add happiness to your life. But they are not responsible for your fulfillment as a human being. And I think that people know that intellectually, like I said, but we often can get into relationships. And what people do is that they get into relationships and they have all these expectations about how the other person should make them feel. And look, of course, you should be in a relationship with someone where you feel good around. But rarely do people ask themselves, how am I going to make this person feel? And also, what's my responsibility versus the responsibility of my partner? So I think that that's something that wasn't hard for me to accept, but I know it's something that I'm going to have to continually remind myself, and because I think that is the task of all of us. And then definitely the hardest was the last. You have to make peace with your parents. That was hard, and I think that I definitely put a disclaimer in the book that says, if you've been molested or severely abused, I don't actually think you need to make peace with your parents. I
Right.
think that you need to figure out a way, with the help of others, how to feel like a hero in your life versus just a survivor. So I do put that disclaimer. And making peace with your parents doesn't mean that you even have to talk to your parent. It's coming to some sort of resolution and peace within yourself, if you've had a difficult relationship with a parent, because your childhood is going to show up in your adult romantic relationships. There's no escaping that. That is the law of the land. It's just what it is. So if you have a particularly difficult relationship with a parent, you might want to reevaluate that, so that person and that relationship and that story doesn't control your narrative. And that's really what it's all about. Let's just say you have a great relationship with your parent, but you think that you need to be a certain way in order for your parent to love you and to be happy with you. So maybe you have a certain job that is the job that you never wanted, but it's the job that you believed what you were expected to have. Let's just say you're married to the person who you never really wanted to marry, but it's what your parents wanted. Making peace with your parents is also learning how to build up your own autonomy so that you start to make decisions based on the things that you really want and risk potentially disappointing your parents, but also giving them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it won't disappoint them as much as you tell yourself that it will.
It's so interesting because you don't think about, when you're thinking about truths about love, you're not thinking about your parents. You're
Yeah.
not making that connection instinctively. But as you were speaking, I couldn't help but kind of do a little flashback to the men that I dated who had issues with, let's say, their mothers
Mhm.
and how they ended up treating me as a result. And it's very interesting. And I don't think that it's, always the case.
No, it's not a guarantee.
But I am curious if you think that there is a connection to how a hetero man treats his mom is how he's going to treat his girlfriend or wife.
I do think that there is a strong connection. However, I was in one abusive relationship my entire life. I was in my 20s. And he's a really bad person. And he loved his mom and he was really nice to his mom. So, yeah. But that said, I would rather be with a man who loved his mother than a man who hated his mother.
Yeah.
I think that you have a better chance of him being a good partner to you, but there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee. So one of the guys I was thinking about, his mom cheated on his dad
Mm,
and he cheated on me.
mm,
And then the other guy, his parents got a divorce when we were early dating.
yeah.
And his mom was like the kind of cast aside one.
Mm.
And so I felt cast aside by him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's learned a lot of it is learned
Yeah.
behavior, but sometimes we will do the opposite of what our parents did.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go in the complete opposite end of the spectrum, and the pendulum will swing totally the opposite.
Right.
So the influence of childhood on adulthood doesn't mean, exact cause and effect, meaning that the cause may actually create an effect that is not what you would think it would be.
Right. Well, do you believe that phrase or quote, whatever, you become one parent and you marry the other?
I believe that that is not true in all cases.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sort of like I just don't agree with a lot of the things that are out there in this
Like the generalizations.
the generalizations. It's
Mhm.
ridiculous. I mean, I know a lot of people who don't do that.
Right.
So, but can it happen? For sure. And that's
Right.
usually a very hard lesson, or it's something that you learn to work with within the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I really love that though. I really do believe that when you are holding a grudge or, family is so important.
Yes.
And if you can heal that, of course, the disclaimers, but if
Yes.
you can heal that,
It's very important.
it is important and
Yes.
it is good. And I think there's more than us than we realize who prioritize friends over family. And my mom is always trying to teach me this lesson, right? Because I've been guilty of it in the past. And she's like,
You gotta prioritize
Yeah.
family. Yeah, my mom was like that too.
you got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to do it. Okay, going into some questions that came in for you, also some questions that I wanted to ask you.
Sure. Let's do it.
So you mentioned your mentors a lot.
Yeah.
Who are your mentors and how do you find mentors when it comes to talking about something like love?
At the moment, so I have two mentors that I've been with for 10 years. One is in the therapy world, she's considered she's like one of the most respected therapists in the world. She taught Tony Robbins everything he knows about, or a lot of what he knows, I should say, around family therapy. She's mentored Esther Perel years ago. Her name is Chloe Madonna. So she's been my mentor for the last 10 years. And then this woman, Delane, she doesn't like me to say her name. She's like very under radar. She's been my coach. They're both my coaches and mentors for the last 10 years.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And how did you find them?
Well, because one of the things that helped me survive that deep night of the soul, dark night of the soul that I had when everything was falling apart, my mom was dying,
Yeah.
divorced. I was introduced to Tony Robbins, and that doing the work with him was, 15 minutes observing his work was more impactful than 2 years of therapy. So for me personally. And so I really wanted to learn his method. And then through that school, I met my two mentors, and I've been with them ever since 2014.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. And
There was a follow-up question, but I forgot what it was.
Oh, no, it was just like, how does one find mentors when it comes to, love? But I guess you answered it with,
Yeah.
going to something like
Yeah.
To Better Yourself, a Tony Robbins
Yes.
thing.
Or find someone even, on social media who you really like and you wanna
Mhm.
work with. Yeah.
I love that. Is there anyone on social media, speaking of social media, that you really disagree with the advice that they're giving when it comes to love?
I won't mention anything
No,
about
no,
that.
you don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
name names,
yeah,
but like, what are some things that you feel like need to be, you know,
yeah.
taken down
I think
almost?
for the most part, I love the social media is a place where people can go and get this kind of advice. Because certainly I know when I was younger, like that wasn't available. No one was talking about this. I would say overall, what I have found troubling on social media is like, for example, be the black cat and be with a guy who's a golden retriever. So there's that, which
What is the
yeah.
meaning behind
So
that?
the
Like,
one if the
be
woman so this is
bitchy?
heterosexual. Yeah, the woman you have to be like you have to be a slightly aloof to lure him in.
Uh-huh.
And I don't believe that at all.
Right.
Um
I've actually never heard that. I will
you should do
admit,
a little deep dive into
no, I
that.
I want to. I will admit I do have a set of dating rules that I stand by.
Okay, can we talk about those?
Yeah,
Let's talk about them.
but, none of them have to do with being the cat and the man being the I mean, okay, if I've seen the golden retriever man
Yeah.
trend on
Yeah.
TikTok, which I
Yes.
don't know if it's the same thing, but it's like when your golden retriever boyfriend, like, sees you across the room and then, like, the boy is like, "Yay," whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, I imagine that the meaning behind it is your boyfriend or husband should be really kind and excited to be with you.
Yes, but you're also kind of implying that he's like, doesn't have his own dogs don't I'm a huge dog person.
Yeah.
They love you unconditionally and you can treat them terribly and they will still love you.
Yeah, I don't love
So
that
I don't love that.
aspect.
And I also, I don't think that and golden retrievers have such light energy. And I think that part of what we're attracted to in another human being is how multidimensional we are. And so to feel drawn to someone, we have to be drawn to parts of them that are maybe not so sunny and light, a little bit of their darkness too.
Right, you have to allow for that.
Well, you have to allow for that, but I also think it's what creates chemistry. I think
Mhm.
that, a lot of people are attracted to something in someone else that's sort of like maybe it's not dark, but an edge.
Yes.
And I don't think the golden retriever guy is really getting a lot of girls.
Well, it's so funny that you say the edge thing because my friends and I have a theory that
Yes.
there's two kinds of straight male guys, and it's guys who have an edge and guys who want to date someone who has an edge because they
Mm.
don't.
Well, there's more than just those 2 kind of guys,
No, no,
but
of
yes, but
course, of
yeah.
course, of course. But like,
Yes.
let me do my
Yeah.
generalization.
Yes. Wait, I love that. So let's break it down.
Yeah, let's break it down. So there's the guy who he himself has an edge. Like he could be a life of the party kind of
Yes.
vibe.
Yes.
You're a little nervous when he goes on a bachelor party type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yes.
And then there's the guy who wants the girl who has an edge.
Yes.
They are just, just a normal
Uh-huh.
guy who's like,
Yes.
you're not worried about.
Yes.
And you light up his life and he
Yes.
wants the girl to be a little crazy. 'Cause
Yes.
he's not.
Yeah. And I think exactly. And I think it would also define like what really makes someone have it. Like what is that edge? It's like that very, very difficult to define thing
Mhm.
that like je ne sais quoi about someone,
Yeah.
But it's like that edge means like something that cannot be controlled. Something that's
Mhm.
maybe a little bit wild or maybe a little bit bad,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, I think we'd be lying if we all said that we didn't find that a little bit hot. That
Yeah, a
doesn't mean
little bit
that's what
hot.
we want.
But we
That
find it a
doesn't
little
mean it's
bit
what's
hot.
good for us.
Yes,
But
exactly.
that's hot.
Yeah,
It's
it is
like
hot because it's the danger.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think, I'm not saying my husband doesn't have an edge because I think he does,
Yeah.
but I feel like I'm like his crazy,
Yeah.
and
Good.
he's like,
Good.
you know.
I think, I think more women should be going for I mean, look, you need to have chemistry, but I think as we get wiser, we realize there's just grounded, safe, like you want someone who's a rock.
Mhm.
That's I think what's
Right,
important.
but I also think that you can have an edge and be a rock.
Oh, you can. It
Yeah.
depends on what that edge is and how that's
Right.
defined.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. Okay, so going into my rules,
Yeah,
I
let's talk
actually
about
don't think that you're gonna disagree with
it.
all
Okay.
of them. I think what you're gonna disagree with is the idea that you shouldn't be completely transparent with the person you're dating.
Okay, well, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. Okay.
Well, we're not gonna go through all of them because it would take you know what? I'll do like a quick and then
Yeah.
you can stop me if
Okay.
you're like, we need to discuss that one because I'm like very put
How
off
long have
by
you been
that.
married?
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm new to
Yeah,
the
no.
to the
Yeah.
marriage game,
Yeah.
but not to the dating game.
Right.
Always offer to pay, but like they shouldn't accept.
Correct.
Um,
I don't think the first date you have to offer to pay when
no, just like do a reach.
Yeah,
Like,
do
just
a
move. Just don't just sit there and be like, "Thanks."
I don't think you should do a reach. I think
Uh-huh.
so are we're talking heteronormative?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
If he asked you for dinner
Mhm.
and he asked you out, don't do a reach.
I just like move. Like I can't
I
sit
used to do
there and
that.
be
I
like,
know,
"Thanks."
and I learned how to just sit there. But if you're seeing someone once in a while paying for something, I think as a woman is a nice
I
thing. Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Croissants
But
on
if
me.
he accepts it, it's a no-go.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Don't text them thank you after the first date. I feel like you're gonna hate this actually.
Don't text him thank you after the first date.
Because you thanked them on the date and then they'll text you.
Um, I don't think that I think it's this one I think is very contextual. It's
Mhm.
like, I think there's actually something very cute and flirty to be like, I had a really great time.
I think that's different than thank you.
Yes.
Mhm. Don't
Agreed.
forget to ask a question back when texting. Like, don't just let the conversation die. Just like be conversational. This one isn't controversial.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's not controversial. Yeah.
No sex on the first date or really until the 5th to 6th. Don't do third date sex. It's predictable.
So this is where I have a bone to pick.
Mhm.
I don't think it's about the number of times. I
Mhm.
think that there's
I
no
agree.
difference between going to bed with someone on the first date than the 5th date if
Mhm.
you barely know the person and you don't feel and you have no idea where you stand with the person.
Mhm.
First date, 5th date, it doesn't matter. I would say that if you're someone, and a lot of women would say that they are, if you're someone who your emotions get involved once you
Yeah.
have sex with someone, your self-esteem is maybe a little bit low. You shouldn't be having sex with anyone until you're actually you know that the person, like, you know each other, you feel safe with each other, and you're in a relationship with each other. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
This is not a moral thing that I say.
No.
Yeah.
I just think it's more fun to wait, honestly. I feel like it's more fun to build
Sexual tension.
sexual tension.
Absolutely.
No more than 2 drinks on the first few dates.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I'm surprised.
I think there should be no drinking.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yes,
You're good. Oh, you agree?
100%. Yeah, don't put your eggs on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. Don't ask.
Not so soon.
Okay, this you're gonna
Yeah.
disagree with.
Okay.
Don't ask them what they're looking for.
Don't ask them what they're looking for. Yeah, I wouldn't ask. I would just say what you're looking for
Yes.
and
I
see
like
what
that.
kind of conversation.
Well, my parenthesis here is most men don't know until they find it.
Depends on the age of the man.
True. Don't ask what are we. I think you agree with that.
Yeah, I
because you
wrote,
could,
no, I
again,
agree.
Use an I statement like I'm feeling excited to getting to know you.
Yeah, if you want to say, hey, I really like you. I've enjoyed spending time with you. This is where I'd like to see it go. I need to know if you're on the same page as me. Take back your power, woman. Do not ask him what are we. It's not his decision.
No, it's
both
not.
of your decisions.
Show up to the date in a good mood. Obviously, we like that.
Yeah, for sure.
You can be the one to ask a guy out, but then let them take it from there.
I think you can make the first move like, hey, you want to get coffee? I wouldn't ask a guy out for dinner.
Yeah, I agree with that. Don't stay on the date over 2 hours.
Yeah, good. You want to end it on a high note.
Yeah. Don't accept a date the day of. Okay, and then these are more long term, which I feel like you're gonna disagree with. I always say, let the man say I love you first.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I used to always agree with that. I think if you feel it, say it, but be prepared that he may not be ready. But I believe in I this is easier said than done,
Yeah.
but I believe that what what makes a person extraordinary is someone who's like not afraid to express what's in their heart.
I think that's beautiful, but I think you can be not afraid to express what's in your heart, but still not express it.
Yeah, well, but you're not expressing it because of a rule that he should say it first. And
Yeah.
I just don't know if I understand it. I
Yeah.
really truly
Yeah.
understand it. But I don't know if I don't know if it needs
I
to be a
think
rule
that
anyway.
it depends on the guy in terms of how he reacts to it. I think some men might be like, I'm glad she said it because I was
Here's what I
nervous.
recommend. If you're a woman and you're in a relationship with a man and you're in love with him, you love him and you want to say it and he's not saying it, I would say, I want to tell you something and I want you to know you do not have to say it back.
Mm.
But I love you.
Oh my God. I'm running to the hills.
Yeah,
I could never.
I know. But I know some women who have done that and they took them right to the altar.
I know some women who have done that. It took them right to their car to never see the guy again.
Great. Then that's not your guy.
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
know sooner rather than later.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
I mean, if he, because obviously a woman's not gonna, most women are not gonna like say it, so quickly. It's like building. So let's say with someone and it's been a few
Yeah.
months. It's been 6 months, and you're with this person,
Right.
and you're like, when is he gonna say it? And then you say it, and then that's what ends the relationship. Then he was never,
Right,
he
right.
was never
Then fuck
into
that
it.
guy.
Yeah,
But I will say the women that I know who said it and then the guy ran, it was like after a month.
yeah. Okay, so I think that a month is kind of soon.
It's a little
Yeah,
soon. Don't date them for more than 3 months if things haven't been made official.
correct.
I love this. Love it. Okay, that's basically the
Yeah, this is
gist.
good.
It's more about letting them initiate more text than you do. But not keeping score,
Yeah, not
but like
yeah.
you shouldn't feel like you're the only one reaching out.
Here's the thing that most women the message that a lot of women need to hear. Don't stop your life because you met someone who you like.
Mm.
And so if you're living your life, you're not having to play this whole strategic game of texting.
Mhm.
You just don't have to.
Right.
Because he is not the center of your universe yet. Nor I mean, he hasn't earned that he hasn't earned that yet. And most women, what they do is that they make someone the center of their universe, and usually it's someone who's like not even that great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
do
she
that.
just and so that's what women need to hear is don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't even do that when you're married.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Though, because
Of
I worked,
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I worked with couples
Mhm.
for many years. You guys, you have to kind of make each other first.
No,
Yeah,
put them
but
first, but not the center of
not
your
the center
universe.
of your universe.
Because
Yes.
that to me means like I don't have a job, I don't have friends,
I don't have a life.
I don't have a life.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
Okay, I love that. Back to questions. Can you explain the when you know feeling that everybody talks about? If you can.
Yeah. Mostly bullshit. I think that but not 100% bullshit. I think for some people it's true, but some people it's like, well, when you know. It's like then you're going off of a feeling. And I'm all for the feelings and the gut feelings and all of that, but what about are you aligned in the life that you want to live together? What about are you aligned in how you want to raise kids or even if you want to have kids? What about do you know how to repair after an argument? What if have you had the conversation about whether or not you are in complete alignment about what a life well lived is? The couples who I know who are doing very well, they're not perfect and there's always hiccups. they really are aligned in how they want to live their lives. It doesn't mean that there isn't conversation and some negotiation, but the way that their lifestyle, the way they want to live, the travel that they want to do, the things that they want to see, how they want to raise their child, they're in alignment with. So the problem with when you know, is that usually when I've heard people say that, it is excluding the practical things that we need to talk about with each other in order to make a long-term partnership work.
That's really well said. I also will make fun of myself in that I knew
Yeah.
until I actually knew,
Yes.
you know?
And then there's
There
that the intuition.
Right, well, there were
Exactly.
so many times where I was like, "I know this is my husband," and it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah.
And then it was. And I
Right.
was
So
like,
there
"I
you go.
knew."
Yeah.
But it's like I knew a few times. I
Yes.
didn't really know. And now, like, I know for sure, obviously,
Yes.
and I know all of the things that you mentioned that we are aligned on, but I think people people who are married are gonna tell you they knew because
Yeah.
they're not gonna be like, "Well, I just liked them and it worked out and everything was aligned," because it sounds better.
Yeah, but I also know people who questioned it, like, still were sitting with some sort of ambivalence,
Mhm.
um, even when they said, "I do," I mean, not let me just say, not on getting married, like, they knew, they were certain, but I think that what's what needs to be somewhat normalized is that having some ambivalence, not a ton, right? There has to be a limit. Having some ambivalence about whether or not the person is right for you is part of a lot of people's story, even when they're in a good marriage together.
Yeah, and I've talked about that a lot in the I feel like it's divided, and I know it's divided because we've done a poll question on it, but
Yeah.
there's just people who have doubts.
Yes.
Those are that's who they are. They're people who just have doubts in
Yes.
general in their life,
Yes.
and there are people who are just super certain about something, and when they make a decision, like, they never question it.
Very well said and very well put. Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How to combat the fear of settling with someone, getting married, and then potentially divorcing?
So how to combat the fear of settling?
Like, the fear that you're gonna end up settling with someone, you're gonna get married to them, and then you're gonna divorce them. Like,
I
when you got married, did you think that you were settling?
No.
Exactly.
Turns out I was, but yeah, no.
Right.
Yeah. Um,
But what if you already kind of have that fear, I guess, is what she's saying.
I think that it gets a lot easier when you can get clear about what it is that you want in a partner and what's a priority to you
Mhm.
and what are the things that you're willing to tolerate. Because there's no perfect person out there
No.
and you're always going to have to tolerate some things.
Mhm.
So I think that what helps people sort of quell their fears is the clearer you can be about what are your deal breakers and what are your non-negotiables, like what you absolutely must have no matter what, like what's really truly important to you, and you can let go of all the rest.
Mhm.
But then you have to be loyal to that as well. You have to
Mhm.
define that. So for people who are afraid, figure out what's absolutely necessary for you.
Make that list of wants versus needs.
Yeah, exactly. And make that list short, make it tight and short.
Yeah.
And it's not your preferences. It's like what you really need to really thrive in a relationship.
Mhm.
And that's why it's so important that if you're in a relationship and it ends, and let's say it was a difficult relationship for you, it's very important to process that and to learn those lessons and to really dissect it and be like, "Oh, this is what didn't work and this is why it didn't work. This is what I need now that I didn't realize I needed then."
Mm. Yeah, that's a big distinguishing thought. Um, okay, another rule I actually did not bring up, which
Yes.
I want your opinion on, is my 90-10 rule.
Okay, what is it?
So I believe for a relationship to thrive and succeed, you need to have 90% security in that relationship, but 10% insecurity. And hear me out.
Okay, yeah.
So the 10% insecurity doesn't come from like, my partner's gonna cheat or am I good enough? it comes from my partner's so wonderful and such a good catch that someone could like I see why people would want them, right?
Yes.
And it's less about in like being actually insecure and more about not getting too comfortable to the point where you don't feel like you need to do anything.
Agree 100%. What I would add to that is that every relationship needs a balance of certainty and uncertainty,
Mhm.
novelty, adventure,
Mhm.
surprise, depending on what you value most. Um, I think that it's really amazing when there can be where you feel 100% safe with your partner and emotionally safe and certain of their love and certain that they're not going to stray. But we're always sort of straddling that line between autonomy and togetherness. But that 10%, as you said, I think the way that I interpret it, it sort of represents their autonomy,
Mhm.
that they don't belong to you,
Right.
you
That they
know?
don't of course they need you, but they would live
They can live without you.
if you
They
weren't there.
can. So this is very important. It was Eric Fromm who said, "You want to need someone because you love them, not love them because you need them." And so we need each other. We're social animals. And so this new movement of hyper independence, I don't need anyone, blah blah blah. Those are people who are not going to have good relationships,
Yeah.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
We need each other. We are dependent species. Um that said, we want to have enough sense of self and autonomy that we want to look at our partner and say, I don't want to live without you. But if you were to leave me,
I
I
couldn't.
will survive.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
That's the subtitle clip
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
What is the difference between chemistry and compatibility?
Hmm. So there's different types of chemistry. There's intellectual chemistry, there's emotional chemistry, for some there's spiritual chemistry, and then there's physical chemistry. A lot of people, when they talk about chemistry, they're talking about the physical stuff. So that's how physically attracted you are to the person, how much you like their smell, how much you want to take their clothes off, how much you want to have sex with them. It's all pheromones and hormones. Compatibility is um, we agree on what I believe that what's at the core of compatibility is we agree on what a life well lived is. Because if you and your partner are 100% compatible and you like all the same things, you're going to be very bored. It's going to morph into a friendship, and there's not going to be a lot of passion because passion lives in the differences. But compatibility is, yeah, like when we go on vacation together, we kind of like the same rhythm. We can really agree on like what a great Sunday is. Even though maybe there's going to be some Sundays you want to do this and I want to do that. We have some ease. I think a very underrated compatibility. I don't think it's a deal breaker, but I do think it's an underrated compatibility is that you kind of like to eat some of the same foods or a lot of the
Mm.
same foods.
Mhm.
So like going out to a restaurant together is actually like you can share food and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and it's not like a thing. Um, so you need both chemistry and compatibility to make a relationship work, but chemistry changes.
Mhm.
That lust that you feel in the beginning
Yeah.
doesn't last. But, you know, people who just get addicted to the lust stage of a relationship, they end up waking up feeling very empty inside,
Yeah.
So that it's always a balance. So those are the
Mhm.
two differences.
How would you suggest somebody stays grounded and true to themselves and not get caught up in someone's potential in early dating?
Yeah. So a lot of times what happens, and I think both men and women do this, but let's just say we have been alone for a long time or longer than we would like to have be alone, and we're feeling a little lonely. And then let's add into that some boredom. Maybe we're not so fulfilled at work. Maybe our friendships are not where we want them to be. Maybe we don't have the hobbies that we really like. We haven't found like our hobbies or community. And then you meet someone and you're attracted to them. You feel chemistry with them. You find them hot for whatever reasons, you find them hot. But they really don't have what it takes to be in a relationship or to make you happy in any way, shape, or form. Maybe they don't have maybe, for example, you have a great job and they're not even working and they have no intention of working. Or maybe they, could be really good in a relationship if only A, B, C, and D ended. What we do is we put them when we want the relationship and we want the love enough. We will have blinders on, rose-colored glasses, where we don't see the person in front of us and we think, well, I can change him or I can change her. And it's a very misguided and hubris, actually, mentality to think that you can change someone. You can't. And so you have to see the person in front of you, not the person who you think that they may become. And who's to say that they would ever actually become that
Yeah.
or even want to? Yeah.
Agreed. And you said that really articulately. And I also think, especially straight men, I think they are so clear, and we don't give them the benefit of the doubt because we want to see sometimes something else. Like,
Yes.
and what they say is not a double meaning.
No.
They're not like us.
No, there's not. They don't speak in code. We speak in code.
Yeah, if we're black cats,
Yeah.
then guess what? I don't believe that, but then we're speaking in code.
Yeah, we are.
They're not.
Yeah, they don't.
They literally are like, I don't know. I don't think I'm ready for a relationship right now, but I'm really, having fun with you. Then you're like, oh, but if you're having fun,
Yeah,
then maybe
we
you'll be
read
ready.
into it, we decode. Yeah, because the way that we
They're not-
communicate
yeah.
is that we're kind of, we can be a little bit manipulative in that way. Like we can be like, well, we can be very strategic, and sometimes we'll get into an argument and we'll say, leave me alone.
Yeah, I was
but
just gonna use the
leave me alone really means you better be following me.
Yeah,
Like,
and if you're not, if you don't run after me like
then
a
you don't-
rom-com,
yeah,
then
then
you're
you-
a
then you-
terrible partner.
or you don't love me.
But if a guy says leave me alone, you better get a one-way ticket.
Yeah, he really means it.
Yeah.
Leave him alone. Yeah.
Totally. That's so funny. You gave years, so this person gave years and years to relationships, and they didn't end in marriage and babies like they wanted. Now what?
Well, don't do that again.
Right.
And learn the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to pull up your stocks and start over again.
Well, assuming this person is at a time where they now cannot have said babies.
Yeah, well,
adopt.
Yeah,
if
yeah,
it's important to
yeah.
you, I feel.
Yeah, life often doesn't turn out the way that we expect it to,
Mhm.
and when it turns out to really not be what we wanted, these are the things that cause a tremendous amount of depression in people. And so I just want to encourage anyone who's in that position. You're going to have to go to the drawing board and come up with a new blueprint, and you're going to have to be very resourceful. Can you adopt? Exactly. Can you freeze your eggs if you're in that position to be able to do so?
Mhm.
It's not easy, but you have to become very resourceful and open your mind to other possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your advice for someone who's feeling really excited about a new guy after putting up walls, being so hurt in the past?
Yeah. It's such a difficult thing because so many of us are in the dating world with our walls up. And I can't fault anyone for that. A lot of people have been hurt. And the paradox is that she's talking about a guy. Men will maybe fight to get that wall down if he really likes a woman, but only for so long. Like a man who's actually very secure in who he is will eventually actually be very turned off by the lack of vulnerability. So it's very important that the walls come down, but not right away. Not right away. So I think it's about, again, part of what helps a woman protect her heart and dating and all that, and just in relationships, is just know what it is that you want, know your value. My book talks a lot about self-esteem and self-love. So that's going to be, the book is for whether you're married, you're heartbroken, or you're single. It's definitely not a dating book solely. So I would say know what you want in a partner.
Yeah.
That's very, very important. And then slowly, we can't build a connection with another human being without vulnerability. But vulnerability, see it more as your authenticity. See it more as your authenticity. Let someone in a little bit. And here's what you can do. This is really important advice. You meet someone and you like them and you feel good around them. So you slowly start to reveal a little bit more of your true self and your authenticity and your vulnerabilities, or maybe something happened to you in your past that you're like, someone needs to know this, and you're kind of letting them in a little bit. See how they respond
Yeah.
to your vulnerability. If they respond with feeling closer to you and wanting to know more, then you know that this is someone you should continue seeing. If they respond with disinterest or any sort of pulling away, they're not for you.
It feels really good when you're vulnerable
Yeah.
and you get a response that you wanted from that vulnerability.
Yes.
And it's not a trick.
No, it's not a trick.
It's really an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
It's scary, but it's so
Beautiful.
rewarding.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
rewarding and beautiful.
I want to quickly talk about this episode that I loved of yours about the 5 truths about relationships that will transform your love life. And then we're going to do some quick rapid fire.
Oh, great. I'm excited.
So the 5 truths, and tell me if I messed this up, but I think I remembered it being these. Conflict exists.
Mm-hmm.
The spark is overrated.
Mm-hmm.
People change and grow in different ways.
Yes.
We have to be responsible for our own emotional patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to choose each other.
Yes.
Stop wanting to be chosen. Love these so much.
Oh, I'm glad.
The one thing that I tiny bit disagree with,
okay, bring it,
is the spark being overrated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's overrated.
Okay.
But what you continue to say is that like it goes away and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah. So there's 2 things. There's 2 caveats.
Mm-hmm.
For women more than men, chemistry can grow.
Mm-hmm.
Not a guarantee, but it can. I've worked with lots of women. Oh, he wasn't my type. And I was like,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
did
yeah.
you, and it,
Mhm.
and you're like, all of it, like, I don't know if you've ever had an experience,
Yeah,
but I've
no.
had an experience in the past where I'm like, I'm not that into him. And then I end up being like totally obsessed with it, like in love with the person.
Mm-hmm.
So wanting that initial spark from date 1, I think is overrated. Another caveat is some people, their picker is really off. They have chemistry with people who are
Yeah.
mean to them and treat
Mhm.
them badly.
So
you have
true.
the spark can be very unreliable.
Mm-hmm.
And then yes, the spark is something that you have to work on in your relationship.
Okay, in that context, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, and then you would think it's so obvious, but the fact that you can't force someone to grow or change, like people still don't really get that.
You
so.
can't. And also people are growing, and so there will be a lot of people who want to change their partner. But there are a lot of married couples and couples who are very threatened by their partner's change and
Mm.
evolution. And so on the one hand, you can't change your partner. On the other hand, change is a guarantee, but you can't control that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Can you actually accept that, your partner might wake up one day and decide that they want to do something different with their life? There's change is a guarantee.
Yeah. That's, because it's a scary thought. All right, let's use
Yes.
some rapid fire. I know, it's like when my husband decides he wants to be healthy for a week, I'm like, this is a threat. And I hate it. Okay, these are really just fun and silly and mean nothing. Okay, red flag, green flag, or no big deal if a guy passes gas in front of you within the first week of you becoming boyfriend, girlfriend.
No big deal.
I don't like it.
I mean, I don't like it, but I don't know if it's a deal breaker. It depends on
just
the
like
guy.
wait until we've said I love you.
I know. I don't love it. I don't love it. I don't
Yeah.
recommend it, but I don't know
Uh-huh.
if I would kick him to the curb if he's otherwise amazing.
Fair. Is the unspoken rule not to use the word love before saying I love you? Or is it fine to be like, I know you love that about me in a cute way?
I think it's fine.
Mhm. Do you wear long sleeve pant pajamas in the winter and shorts? Like, basically, in the winter, are we changing to long sleeve versus shorts
Is
when
that a red flag, green
pajamas?
flag? I
No, no,
could
no. Are you wearing long sleeve pajamas in the winter?
no.
Mhm. Because you're wearing short sleeve.
Yeah, or like a tank top. I could
Uh-huh,
never wear
uh-huh.
long sleeves
Yeah, I don't
to
wear
bed.
pajamas at all, actually.
Yeah. I don't really wear pajamas. Yeah. I sometimes wear pajama pants. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're comfy. Okay, this is a good question for a born and bred New Yorker. Your friend's in town for work on a Sunday and wants to get dinner. She's staying in Midtown, which you avoid at all costs for obvious reasons. Is it okay to pick a dinner spot all the way downtown where you live, or do you have to go to her?
If I think now I've learned to become more flexible, I'll go to her. Yeah. But,
Tough. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
But maybe not. Maybe not.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
not.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
not. Maybe it's, you know what? Yeah, maybe not.
Mhm,
Maybe not.
mhm,
Maybe
mhm.
not.
Unless there's like a really great Midtown restaurant.
No, it'd have to be an amazing restaurant. I'm
Right, right,
not going
right.
to a shitty restaurant just because she's staying in
Mm-mm.
Midtown.
Like
Yeah.
Midtown and a shitty restaurant is
No,
like
it's no,
two horrible things.
it's
Uh-uh.
unacceptable.
Boyfriend is having a hard and busy day, but doesn't check in, text, or call all day from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Right to be upset?
Um, this is a difficult one because there's context. I think if you feel really safe in your relationship, then you are just going to assume they're having a long, busy day at work and you're going to hear from them after. And as long as it's not a pattern,
Right.
as long as it's not a pattern when you're like, hey, I'd like a check in, like we check in, and then all of a sudden they pull away.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, we have to be a little flexible.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, you get into a relationship with a guy who had been planning up until that point. Then you get in the relationship, and now the girl's doing all the planning. Normal, or you have to have a conversation?
So, one thing that I want to say to all the men who are listening and the men who pursue, so even if they're in same-sex relationships, they pursue. One of the a habit that men have to break is this idea of, and men do this unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
They love the hunt and they love to pursue. And then once they get the person, then they feel like they don't have to do that anymore and they relax. And especially if you're doing that with a woman, for women, it's extremely painful.
Disgusting.
Well, it's just very painful for us. It's very, very confusing and painful for us. So I think that, look, things change when you're in a relationship and it's not the constant pursuing. And also, I know a lot of women in their relationships with men who like to be the planners. But yeah, you can say, look, it's the way you bring it up. I find it really hot when you plan dates. Like that actually makes me attracted to you. It reminds me of like when we first started dating. Here are the places that I would love to go to. Let me know when I should be ready to go.
Yeah. Totally. Okay, these are extremely silly.
Okay, good.
Fuck, marry, kill. Do you know that game?
Yeah, fuck, marry, kill.
Muffins, croissants, pancakes.
Okay, wait. Fuck, marry, kill, muffins, croissants, or pancakes. Fuck the pancake. Marry the croissant.
Same.
Kill the muffin.
Oof, it's tough. I might fuck the muffin.
Okay.
And kill the pancake. Sour candy, chocolate candy, ice cream.
Chocolate.
So you're just gonna fuck and marry?
Oh, right. Fuck, marry, kill. So sour candy, kill. Fuck the ice cream. Marry the chocolate.
Okay. Sushi, Italian food, American food.
Marry the Italian food. Fuck the sushi. Kill the American food.
Okay, last fuck, marry, kill. Buffalo sauce, barbecue sauce, ketchup.
I don't like any of it.
Really?
Wait, what are the three?
Buffalo, barbecue, ketchup.
Ooh, definitely fuck the barbecue. Marry the ketchup. Kill the buffalo.
Okay, this is the real last one. You have a 5th date coming up. Your birthday is this week, and you're celebrating that night at a sports bar with friends and your sister. Invite them to come or keep it to just friends.
Oh, absolutely invite them to come. I think that's very important. You want to see how they are. Here's a mistake that people make. They get to know each other in a bubble.
Mm,
You can't know who a person is until you see them interact
right.
with their world and your world.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I like that.
invite them.
I love it.
Yeah.
Jillian, this was so much fun. Can
It
you leave
was.
us with a quote or piece of advice, even though you've already given us so much?
I know. Okay, should it be for like just love in general or just for singles? What do you want?
Whatever you're called to.
Yeah. Love, like, because we talked about love quite a bit today. Love really is not just a feeling, it's a choice.
Oh,
Oh, well, there you go.
Phone got excited.
And I know love truly is not just a feeling, it really is a choice. And one of the myths that we've been sort of left with is that, we should just, if we don't feel totally loving, that means we're not loving. No, love is also a choice. It's a verb, it's an action, it's an intentional practice. And we are finicky creatures and we're moody creatures. And sometimes we're not going to be in the mood to love. And it is a choice always to show someone love.
It's beautiful and
Yeah.
true. Where can everyone find you, follow you, and read your book?
Yeah. So my book is out. It begins with you, the 9 hard truths about love that will change your life. Yes. You can get that on my site, jillianturecki.com/book. My podcast, Jillian on Love. And then, of course, social media, Jillian Turecki.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
That was so great.